Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a reading journal update. So I'm going to show you what I did for my January spreads because I really loved them, and then I will show you what I set up for February, and we'll just do kind of an overall update of what my journal is looking like this month. So first off, I went ahead and wrote in the 8 books that I read this month. It was Foxglove, All of Us Villains, Thorn Hedge, All of Our Demise, Apprentice to the Villain, Wisteria, Onyx Storm, and Animal Farm. And then the colors don't mean anything. I'm just using different blues to fill in my Goodreads goal. So I filled in the first 8 squares to show that I have read that many in my goal so far. I am on my 9th book currently. So that is how this is going to look. It's just going to be different blues. Then we have my days read spread. So as you can see, I did these little boxes on every day that I read, and I would get in these little, especially on the weekends, where I would read multiple days in a row. And then this gap right here is when I went to Disney, so I was on vacation, so I did not read it all. And then some of these are just like, I finished a book and I didn't start another book for a couple of days. So yes. Then we have my yearly stats page, and I just filled out the stats. So for pages read, I read 3,081 this month, 8 books. I gave 1 book 5 stars. It was All of Our Demise. I read 1 ebook because Onyx Storm I read an ebook because my physical copy did not come in on time. I did 1 audiobook, which was Thorn Hedge. 6 of them were physical copies. 1 was library, and I counted the audiobook as library because I did it through Libby. 6 of them were series, 2 of them were standalones, and I did no rereads, but I will be doing rereads in February, I think. So yeah, I just filled in my stats there, and I'll keep going throughout the months. Then we have my anticipated releases. I think this is mostly the same. I did add Among the Burning Flowers, and I have a couple more that I need to add, like Alchemized. I'm definitely going to end up reading that version of it because I loved Manacled, so I need to add that on the month that it's coming out. But for the most part, I don't think I've added anything new to my anticipated releases spread. Then my series tracker, I did add a couple of boxes because I finished the Belladonna series, so I went ahead and colored those in for the books that I've read in those. But I think that's the only series that was on this that I filled in. And then genres, as you can see, I'm just filling in. Some of them are multiple. That's why there's a lot of fantasy, because some of them were fantasy and romance. So they got a color for each of them. Every young adult also got whatever its like actual genre is, plus a young adult tally. So there's going to be more than the number of books in this. And every time I finish a book, I just fill out a color in a little square for its genres. I've only read fantasy, romance, young adult, and a classic, so maybe I need to diversify my genres this next month. Backlists, unfortunately, I have not gotten into any of these. I originally was going to do Hero of Ages in February, but then I just didn't get to it because I decided to read banned books instead. So that will maybe come at the end of February if I have time. But for now, I haven't added anything to this either. Then we have my book bracket, and this was a hard choice because I did fill out January's favorite. Because I gave All of Us Villains 5 stars, I ended up going with that as my favorite, even though I wanted to give it to Onyx Storm. But because All of Us Villains got 5 stars, I just felt like it deserved that spot. So I went ahead and put it in as my favorite for January. Then I do need to print out a picture of All of Us Villains, or is it All of Us Villains? Yeah. I think I'm going to wait until I have a couple more 5-star reads, because when I print out little mini books, it's in a set of 4. So I need 4 of them to print one out. So I'm waiting to put it in, but it will go in here. And then I put a teeny tiny 4 stars under Onyx Storm here because that was the first 25 in 2025 that I read this month. So I'm just going to try, like this, I'm not really going to be able to fit it, but I'm going to try to just fit the little star ratings underneath them when I read them. So that was the only one I've read in this section here. Then I filled out quite a few of my alphabet challenge. For A, I did All of Us Villains. F, I did Foxglove, Onyx Storm for O, Thornhedge for T, and Wisteria for W. So I have a couple of these filled out already, just going by what I've read. Every time I read a book, I go and check and see if there's already a letter filled out. I haven't put anything on my recommended page yet, so it's early in the year though. I've just left this blank for now. And then my physical TBR, I went ahead and colored in All of Us Villains because that was on my physical TBR, as well as Foxglove because I owned it when I made this, so it was on my physical TBR as well. I have not added anything in the books bought yet because I still have been using gift cards. I haven't spent any physical money on books yet that aren't gift cards. So I did make the decision that if it was from a gift card that I wasn't going to put it here. This was just going to be like actual real money out of my bank account. So while I have bought books, I haven't spent my own money on them. So I did not track them here yet. So it's still blank. Okay, and then we get to my January spreads. So here I filled in all of the books that I read this month because clearly I did not stick to my TBR. The only ones on my TBR that I stuck to was Foxglove, All of Us Villains, and Onyx Storm. The rest of these kind of went out the window because I ended up finishing all of these other series instead. And so for stats, I put 0 rereads. I think I put pre-owned 1. Really, it's 2 because I also have Foxglove, but Foxglove was gifted to me, so I left it off of there. I borrowed 1 from the library. I bought 5 of them. I put my page numbers, 240 minutes, because that is how many minutes it translates to for the one audiobook I listened to, and I read for 18 days this month, which I think is pretty good. That's majority of the month. And then this is what I meant when I was talking about how this was going to look. I used a lot of really too light of colors, but I'm going to do it again in February. And this is where I had like a little typo, so it's a big blob. But it's just from what days I read books. So we have like Foxglove from the 1st and the 2nd, Thornhedge from the 1st to the 4th, All of Us Villains I read in one day, All of Our Demise, Apprentice to the Villain, and then I started Wisteria that day. That one took me the longest because I was on vacation this entire time and I didn't finish it before I went on vacation. So like I was still technically reading this book, I just didn't read it on those days. So it's not every day that you read, but the time period in which you like started and ended the book. Onyx Storm, then I had one day that I wasn't currently reading anything before I started Animal Farm, and then I started Fahrenheit 451 before the end of the month, but I have not finished it. So that is kind of how my January stats page turned out, and then I have my individual spreads. So the first one is Foxglove. I had so much fun doing this. I used pictures from my HP Sprocket printer and then like cut out little like Hello Little Bird because that's what he calls her, and just used like some stickers and things to decorate it. So we have Foxglove here. All of Us Villains, I actually tried to draw. I'm not good at drawing, but there's relics in All of Us Villains, so I drew all 7 of the relics, and then I drew this book because this is the book that like is published and causes a bunch of drama in this book. And then I used some pictures and I used like the map from the book and things like that to represent All of Us Villains. Then I have Thornhedge, which is something that I audiobooked. There's a bunch of like thorns. It's a thorny hedge that's keeping them out, so I tried to draw like thorns in like a magical kind of way because it is like a fairy tale. She's also called Toadling, and she turns into a frog, so I drew a little frog there. And then again, I just used some pictures to represent like the dark fantasy vibes. Then here, these were all sequels, and I had already made bigger spreads for like All of Our Demise or All of Us Villains and Foxglove, so I decided to just split it into 3s and made them smaller. So All of Our Demise, I drew like the stone that represents something in the book, and then like one of their spellcraft rings, but I kept it just stats and quotes. For Apprentice to the Villain, I drew like a dragon because there's a dragon, the frog's little sign that says help, like a potion, and a dagger because she has a dagger that's big, and then I just drew like little sparklies to fill in the existing gaps. And then for Wisteria, I put her nickname, Sweetbriar, and then Fate has like tapestries that he weaved, so I tried to make like a little bobbin with thread and like a little tapestry with the colored thread that like represents something in the book. I won't really go into that, but yeah, so this one I didn't do any pictures. I just did little drawings and split them up because I didn't want to do whole spreads for these. Then my last big spread I did was Onyx Storm. I did Brave the Dark because that's like the tagline for the book here, and then I used some fan art of like Xaden and Violet that I found, and a red eye because if you know, you know, and then Darkness and Lightning kind of holding hands, quotes. I put the dragons' names because, you know, I love them. Just a vibe. This is what I did after I finished the book. It's very like therapeutic to me to like finish a book and then just like decorate and write all the cutesy quotes. And then I finished Animal Farm. This one I also didn't do print out any pictures, but I found this really cool collage on Pinterest and I pulled a lot of things from that. So like I drew a pig's nose and this poster that says 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Their little flag that originally said Manor Farm, they crossed it out and put animal, and then the windmill that they're so dead set on building. This one was fun too. And then I had a bunch of extra space because I ended up not having time to finish anything else. So because I'm doing a banned books video, I just put a little chart of banned books to read, and I put Fahrenheit 451, Handmaid's Tale, Catch-22, 1984, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Water for Elephants, and Lord of the Flies, which I forgot to add the author of Lord of the Flies on there, but this is the same as my backlists spreads where it has title and author, and then I put my star ratings. I was going to go in, I haven't done it yet because when I made this last night I was waiting for the ink to dry. I'm going to use a white pen to write in title, author, stars there. There's the author because I left that out when I did it. And then this is my setup for February. I found this on Pinterest. I think it was by Ray. She does a lot of not book journaling, but like bullet journaling videos. And I loved it. I did change it a little bit. I added extra paper and some quotes and things, but it's like a little love letter with some stamps and hearts. And then I put Be My Valentine and Book Boyfriends Forever here to kind of make it more bookish. It was simple, and I put XOXO Rye because that's me. And then I did the exact same setup over here. I went ahead and drew a partial line for today because I am still reading Fahrenheit 451, but I didn't connect it just in case for some reason I finished it, and then I'll just continue to fill it out the same way I did with January. And then I created a TBR. So my TBR for the month right now, because I'm doing my banned book video, is actually a lot of banned books. Fahrenheit 451 because that's what I'm reading now. Handmaid's Tale, 1984, Lord of the Flies, and then I put a mix of books that were on my TBR last month that I didn't get to, and a couple of like new releases. So I have Hero of Ages, Wicked, Scythe and Sparrow, Lord of the Tides, Scythe, and Lady Macbeth. So that is kind of my TBR for the month, and that is my February spread. I had a really fun time doing this. I haven't had this much fun journaling in a long time. There's something about just like using pictures and collages that I just really enjoy. And so I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I will see you back for my March update. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.